Be careful with students. Why? Because you don't know. You don't know their family details, or what was said to them this morning, or what they saw on a screen last night. You don't know what feels empty inside, or what's hurting them today. You're not inside their heads and you're not inside their hearts. You don't fully understand their survival techniques. You simply don't know. How you react to them may be insensitive on your part, or perhaps you're assuming something. You may not be giving them enough credit for simply showing up today. Your thoughtless remark might be just the thing that breaks them. Of course they're immature, but you are not. They may be acting foolishly, but you don't have to. We are very complex, we humans. We store information and events, framing them into filters through which we view our lives and the lives of others. We draw conclusions, choose words, and execute judgments based on those filters. No one is exempt. We all struggle with this, some more than others. But Jesus knows what's in the heart of a child. I don't. Jesus understands the motive of a student. I can't, not fully. Jesus sees through what's being said to what is meant. I'm not very good at that. Jesus knows why. I don't. The prophet Isaiah said, "A bruised, discouraged reed God will not break, and a smoldering common wick he will not snuff out." Yes, we are complex beings, three-part beings. You've probably heard it this way. I am a spirit being, I have a soul, I live in a body, and the three parts of my soul are my mind, my will, and my emotions. Such complexity creates many ways in which we can become wounded. We tend to think that the barriers we create will protect us from being wounded again. As a result, our hearts can become hardened. Bitterness can take root. Defense mechanisms form. Addictions creep in on us like warm water slowly heated to a rolling boil. Faces are masked, tongues lash out or are silenced. Fists clench, stomachs churn. I am a darkened spirit. I have a tormented soul. I live in a dying body. The three parts of my soul are my perverted mind, my defiant will, and my erratic emotions. And Lord, you want me to be careful with my students? How can I be careful with people when I feel like such a wreck myself on some days? And Jesus gently responds, "Because I am careful with you." Oh. Here's the sequence. A student does or says something that offends me in some way. I get angry or hurt or react impatiently. I don't take time to understand them, to ask questions, to learn. I don't ask them to forgive me, and I don't forgive them. I hold a grudge. I let their pain affect me every time I look at them. I continue to react, often with passive aggression. Another student reacts to my anger, and then I get offended, and here we go again. You know, it's true what they say. Hurt people hurt people. After teaching a Bible class of high school students several years ago, I became very frustrated with myself. I had been harsh and condemning. No grace from me. And yet in my own life, I had experienced so much grace from God, generously extended to me as only He can. I had reveled in it, appreciated it. I was amazed by His grace. But I just could not give grace to my students, certainly not like God had graced me. Yes, I was frustrated with myself, so I asked God some very direct questions. It usually takes a while for me to get what I think are satisfactory answers, but on this particular day, God's answer came within minutes. I sensed him saying, "Don't teach them out of anger because of what you have been through. Teach them out of love because of what I have been through." And I crumbled. Gentleness comes from forgiveness. Harshness comes from guilt. And then I realized that I had only received part of his grace. I was so afraid for those students, so afraid that they would make stupid choices and end up going through the same hell that I had chosen for myself. I loved them. I didn't want them to suffer like I had. So I tried to hammer them with the truth, forcing it on them and demanding a commitment from them to not be stupid. But gentleness comes from forgiveness. Yes, I had asked the Lord's forgiveness for my own sin, but I had not received forgiveness. Harshness comes from guilt. I still felt guilty for my own sin. In other words, though I had asked the Lord's forgiveness, I had not forgiven myself. I had repented, but I had not received. Something within me melted away that day. The next day in class, I confessed my sin to my students. I asked their forgiveness for my harshness toward them. I explained my twisted, fearful love and promised them that I would earnestly continue to submit to the gentleness of Jesus and learn to forgive myself and to receive his forgiveness. I don't know if the students were able to see any changes in me that year, but since that day, God has worked into my teaching gift a new peace and love. Gentleness is growing, and with it, authentic joy in teaching. Maybe we are not careful enough with our students because we haven't forgiven ourselves. Or maybe we aren't careful with them because we haven't received God's forgiveness for our own sin. Maybe we haven't dealt with some area of our own childhood. Why don't you take some time right now and ask God about that? Jesus says, "Come to me. Come to me. If you are tired and your burdens are heavy, come to me. I will give you rest. Walk with me, work with me, and learn from me. You can trust me as your teacher because I am gentle and humble. Come to me, and you will find rest for your souls."